Hello, good evening. The new Scottish Labour leader says he's disappointed that his predecessor Kezia Dugdale has chosen to appear in the TV show I'm a Celebrity. But Richard Leonard says he doesn't support hasty calls for her to be suspended. In his first full day in charge, he says he wants to focus on winning back the trust and confidence of voters. Lisa Summers reports.
The new Labour leader's first job, to get out on the campaign trail. But he has one glaring distraction to deal with first. His predecessor, Kezia Dugdale, who's jetted off to be a reality TV star.
It's a distraction when the media keep asking me about it. Actually, I'm out here today to speak to real people and find out what their issues are, whether it's precarious employment, whether it's their rents going up, whether their sons and daughters can find work, whether it's older people who are not looking forward to a winter in which they'll be living in fuel poverty. I suspect these will be the real and important issues that people will be speaking to us about when we go around this community today, and not about who's in the jungle and who's not.
He may want to focus on the issues that matter to people, but today they're talking about the jungle.
Well, she should be here doing her job. As simple as that.
I think it's good. It gets them out there and it gets a different perspective on things, doesn't it?
Not really bothered about it. It's not as if there's anything big happening now with Brexit and things like that.
To be honest, I couldn't give a damn about the politicians at the minute. They should all go there and stay there. Sorry, but that's just how I feel.
And one of Mr Leonard's closest allies didn't mince his words on Sunday Politics Scotland.
I think it's utterly ludicrous. We're in the run-up to the budget in Scotland, and I don't think people would expect them to jet off around the world and sit around a campfire eating kangaroo's appendage.
Next week, Richard Leonard plans to get on with leading his party in Holyrood. He'll hope there's no distant cry from the jungle at the other side of the world. Lisa Summers reporting Scotland.
It's emerged the Scottish Government had to save troubled engineering firm Byfar Fabrications from going into administration 3 times in the last week. A deal has been done to allow the company to complete its current contract, but ministers say more is needed to secure a long-term future. Andrew Black has more.
Byfar Fabrications is seen as a company with a promising future in renewable energy. It's currently manufacturing components for a major offshore wind farm in the Moray Firth. But last week the company found itself at risk of administration over a payment dispute with a contractor. Last night, the First Minister brokered a deal to allow Byfab to complete its current contract. Today, it emerged just how close to the edge the company was.
One thing that's been thrown up by this crisis, and it was a crisis, during the course of the week we 3 times had to stop Byfab from going into administration. But one of the things that's come out of this is the regard with which the workforce is held internationally.
That optimism is shared by Scotland's renewable energy body.
Byfab is part of a really strong supply chain that we're hoping to build to service a kind of global market. The market that they're currently working in, the offshore wind market, has got huge potential for growth.
Byfab's current contract runs until April next year. Beyond that, the company will have to compete for more work. Andrew Black, reporting Scotland.
The UK and Scottish governments must agree which powers returning from Brussels will be devolved to Holyrood and which will be part of UK-wide arrangements before MPs approve key Brexit legislation. Westminster's Scottish Affairs Committee says the House of Commons needs clarity on how the withdrawal bill will affect the devolution settlement.
What we've tried to do here is design a report that meets the concerns about the devolution settlement held by the Scottish Government and the UK Government's intention to have a clean break on the day we leave the European Union. Now, I think what we've done here is deliver a report that helps to bridge both those particular positions, and I hope both governments take them seriously and act on the recommendations that we've made.
The 20th anniversary of the grounding of the Green Lily and the death of Coast Guard helicopter winchman Bill Deacon has been marked in Shetland this afternoon. Wreaths were laid at the site of the grounding, and from Lerwick, John Johnson has this report.
Never to be forgotten, Bill Deacon's courage and sacrifice is remembered. The crew of the Coast Guard helicopter pay their tribute. At sea, his son Alan and members of the Lerwick lifeboat lay wreaths.
I miss my dad. I feel really proud of what he did. But just thank you to the people in Shetland for remembering him all these years later.
It was one of the most dramatic rescues off Shetland. The Lerwick lifeboat saved 5 of the crew from the cargo vessel.
I was pleading with the captain to let his crew go, to abandon the ship, but they seemed reluctant to do it, and they seemed to be unaware that they were the serious situation they were in.
Bill Deacon rescued 10 of the crew before losing his own life. He was washed off the deck as he waited to be lifted to safety. This stone cairn stands as a permanent memorial to his sacrifice. John Johnston reporting Scotland, Shetland.
Football and the match between Hearts and Partick Thistle went ahead after Tynecastle Stadium got the all clear to host. It finished in a 1-1 draw. Now let's get the weather prospects from Causa.
Thank you, Graham. Good evening. Well, for most of us, it was a cloudy end to the day, but we did have some spells of sunshine earlier. This is the scene sent in from one of our weather watchers in Orkney, where it was a much calmer day with some spells of sunshine. But for most tonight, cloudy conditions and outbreaks of rain. We have this area of low pressure moving in from the Atlantic, and as the rain bumps into the colder air, it will likely fall as snow over the hills and mountains north of the central belt, and there will be some strengthening winds too. So clear night to start further towards the east, turning chilly quite early on. But as that rain pushes into the colder air, snow over the tops of the Cairngorms, across parts of the Northwest Highlands and the East Highlands, but for the central belt southwards falling as rain. So it will be quite a chilly start to the night further towards the east, but by the end of the night 6 or 7 degrees further towards the west. So quite a cloudy, wet start to the day tomorrow and morning commute. Still falling as snow further towards the very far north. And if we take a wider look at the rest of the UK, you can see that area of low pressure slipping further southwards across parts of England and Wales, bringing with it some rain. But across Scotland, it remains rather cloudy, misty, murky as we head into the afternoon, but drier. And temperatures for southern Scotland southwards around 10 to 12 degrees, but for the north of Scotland, 7 or 8 Celsius, and for Shetland, staying largely dry. By Tuesday, that rain reinvigorates. We'll see more in the way of cloud and rain for the north, but improving for the south by the afternoon. That's your forecast.
Can hardly see the map for the rain. That's all for now. We're back for the next update after 10 o'clock news. Bye-bye.